Hi, I'm Billy Puckett with Wood Houston Bank. How often have you wished that you could have swapped out a college course for a practical how-to adult class? Investing, saving for emergencies and retirement, paying off debt, and purchasing a home can all be goals and concepts that feel overwhelming and impossible. Let me introduce you to Stephen Schott. Stephen is a realtor and mentor to new investors in Southeast Missouri. Investing in real estate for the better part of a decade and experience in financial planning, he now aims to help other people achieve financial freedom.
Hey everybody, my name's Stephen Schott. I'm a prominent real estate investor, real estate educator, a business owner, and a former financial advisor. I have been in the unique position many times to learn lessons from both my successes and my failures in finance. In my experience working with clients, I have come across many misunderstandings about how money works, what debt is, and what to do with savings. Today I come to you as a student of his own failures and successes, and an observer of many other people's successes in the planning world. As many of you watching are probably just getting into the professional world, just starting a job that pays you more than you're probably used to making in high school and college, you may come across a lot of financial content, and it's hard to discern between the good advice and the bad advice. I'm here today to hopefully break down some of those myths, set a good foundation for what I believe to be a great beginner's philosophy to what money is and what it can do for you. I believe we should all be good stewards with our finances, and I hope this content I'm sharing with you today helps you determine how to make good decisions when thinking about your own financial planning. So, we want a good foundation to understanding the basis of financial planning for ourselves. As we go through this planning philosophy, we'll probably debunk many myths along the way, and I'll go ahead and tag on a few more at the end. So when I'm thinking about financial planning, I like to think of it as a house. We have a foundation that we need to build upon. We have the foundation. If something's wrong with the foundation, we obviously can't build the rest of the house. So I ask a lot of people this: what do you think your most important asset is? A lot of the answers I get are my car or my house. You know, it's the most expensive thing I own. And I love that answer because I'm a realtor. I love the answer. But I would argue that your most important asset and the most valuable thing you own is your ability to bring home an income. Without an income, we can't save for our future, we can't invest in the business, we can't pay for our kids' school. So I would argue that at the foundation of any financial planning that we do, that your income is going to be the most important thing. There are 3 inherent risks to your income. There's not really anything else other than these 3 things. That's dying too soon, becoming so sick or disabled that you can no longer work to the capacity that you're used to, and then the third one, getting laid off. So how do we protect ourselves from these things? We want to make sure that our foundation is invulnerable, that there's no cracks in the wall, and that it sets us up to catapult us into the other parts of our planning. So first 2 is pretty easy. We can go ahead and set up the right amount of life insurance, and we can set up the right amount of disability insurance. Now, that's a whole other conversation in itself, I'll tell you that. My advice, get with a good financial planner, a good insurance guy to figure out what exactly you need. But a couple of good tips is your life insurance, you say, if I was to pass away tomorrow, I know it gets kind of morbid. If I was to pass away tomorrow, what do my family do for the next 20, 30, 40 years? What does my significant other do? How do I send my kids to school? What is that number? Let's say you make $50,000 a year, and for at least the next 20 years, you know that your kid's going to go to school, that your wife's going to pay off the house, that she's going to still be planning for retirement. You know, what's $50,000, at least in today's dollars, times 20? Well, you're going to be looking at $1 million that you need to protect because that's your potential income over the next 20 years. When it comes to disability insurance, a lot of companies will offer you short-term, and they may offer also some long-term disability benefits. Usually, and ask your employer this, whoever you're starting to work with, this should be a question in the interview. What is your long-term disability? What do those benefits look like for me and my family? Well, long-term disability for most employers covers 60% of your base income. And that 60% is before tax, and it's before you pay for your own health insurance, because if you're not working there anymore, they stop paying for your health insurance. A lot of people just don't understand that. They sign the paper and they go on and they say, hey, I got disability insurance. Having the right amount of supplemental disability insurance can help you go a long way in securing your income no matter what happens to you. Awesome. So we have our income protected. We feel rock solid about that. What about getting laid off? Disability and life insurance doesn't help protect us from that. That brings us to our next point, savings. Good rule of thumb, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. I get this answer a lot, or this comment a lot from younger people starting off in their careers. I'm too young. I'm not gonna start saving until I'm like 35. Like, okay, well, we could talk about that a little bit. Let's take a situation here. I know 2 guys. Their names are Joe and Bill. Let's assume that both Joe and Bill have to retire in 30 years. Let's also assume that when they start saving, they save $200 a month in an account that averages 6% return. Joe says, I'm gonna start saving my money now, and plans on saving his money for 10 years, and then lets whatever amount he saved compound for the next 20. Bill decides to wait 10 years to save, then wants to save for 20 years up until he retires. So let's do some math here. At the end of the 30 years, who do you think has more money saved? This is just to prove a good point. Joe ends up with $104,719. He earned $80,719 of interest off of his initial $24,000 upfront. Bill ends up with only $91,129. Still pretty good, but his initial investment was $48,000. He saved twice as much for twice as long, which means that he only made $43,129 on his money. As Einstein once said, compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. The sooner you start, the easier you make it for future you. There's another caveat in there I kind of want to add is a lot of people will say, well, I just don't make enough to save money. Okay, well, I always point them towards the 50-30-20 rule. 50-30-20 rule says that no more than 50% of your base income every month should go towards fixed expenses. Car payment, rent, house payment, phone bill, whatever you need to live the life that you have. If more than 50% of your income is taken up by bills like that, probably means one of 2 things: that we need to cut back and start being more diligent about the car we're driving, or that we're living a little bit above our means and maybe that apartment is too big for us. So 50% of our income, we have that towards our fixed expenses. 30%, since we don't want to live the rest of our lives just picking pennies and saving them, we want to have fun. Go and have fun with 30%. Take your girlfriend on that date that I know that she's been waiting to go on with you. 20% of our money should always be saved. So by reevaluating your entire spending habits, you can start to say, all right, how do I get my income to 50% going towards bills, 20% saved? Let's not worry about the rest of it because the rest of it's for fun. All right, so we have our income protected, good foundation in this house. We have our savings, 3 to 6 months, whatever makes us feel warm and cushy inside. And what do we focus on next? Well, debt. Having your debt under control is like knowing how to control fire. I say debt's like fire. It can keep you warm, it can feed you, or it can burn you really quick if you mismanage it. Understanding debt is about knowing the difference between good debt and bad debt. Robert Kiyosaki talks about this in his book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He says that there are liabilities and assets. Liabilities are anything that take money out of your pocket, and assets are anything that put money into it. So good debt and bad debt. Good debt, I would say, hey, maybe that is your house payment. You're building equity. It's appreciating with the market. Good debt could be that loan you take out to start that business. Bad debt, pretty simple. It's credit cards with a 29% interest on them. It's student loans, getting those paid off as quickly as you can. And maybe even it's that car payment if it's something that's a little out of your means. So like I said, debt's like fire. Learn how to control it, and you're going to learn how to grow your wealth much better than people around you. Awesome. So we have our income protected. We have enough in the savings account to sleep well at night, and we have our debt under control. This is when you can start having a really awesome conversation with a financial advisor that you trust about how do I start planning for retirement? If I have all this stuff in order, what's the number I have to work backwards from to start saving on a monthly basis to make sure at the very least I can retire by the age of 65 when my Social Security starts kicking in, when I can start withdrawing on my 401k, things like that. A good financial professional should be able to walk you through the steps backwards to say, here's how much you'll need in retirement. based on a 6% interest or whatever that interest rate is, whatever your return could be, here's how much you need to start saving on a monthly basis. How good would it feel for you to know that as you go through your day-to-day, that you don't have to worry about working for the rest of your life, and one day you're going to be able to work because you want to, not because you have to. So we have our income protected, we have enough savings in the account, we have our debt under control, and we know that we're rock solid for retirement at 65. We have some extra money. We start making more money after the age of 30, 35, and some of our prime earning years. We say, well, I don't want to just wait and save all my money until I'm 65. What do I do now? Well, that's when we start looking at midterm goals. What are the next 3, 5 to 10 to 15 years going to look like for you? A lot of people, hey, how do we start that business? How do we put a down payment on some investment property? Maybe there's that house that you really wanted because you guys are planning on having another kid and you need a bigger home. Or maybe even there's a car or a boat that you just want to buy because those are things that get you excited. Well, we have our retirement under control, our savings, our debt, all of those things are rock solid, the foundation for us to build a house, for us to have a wonderful life. Let's start focusing on those midterm goals. After we get through some of those midterm things, this is when I tell people, hey, you got some extra money. What if, instead of retiring at 65, screw retiring at 65, I want to retire at 40. This is when we look at ideal retirement. My goal personally is I want to retire by the time I'm 40. My definition of retirement is working because you want to, not because you have to. Knowing that if I didn't wake up tomorrow for a couple of days and I wanted to stay in because COVID's flying around out there, that I don't have to go into work, that my monthly expenses are taken care of. How much more diligent do you have to be, and what strategies do you have to implement to get to that point of retiring at 40 years old? It's not impossible. I've seen a lot of people do it. I plan on doing it myself. So we have a little bit of extra cash in our pockets after we have all of that taken care of. We got two options. We can go down to the casino, put it all on black, or we could start investing in individual stocks using Robinhood or crypto, having fun with some of the things that may have a huge gain, but most likely potentially could lose us all the money. How great would it feel if you were with your friends and you guys were just talking about stocks around the water cooler, whatever it is, and you're on your Robinhood app and you just said, hey, I just invested a few $1,000s in Dogecoin. And your friends look at you like, dang, a few $1,000s. And you're like, yeah. And then the next day, Dogecoin drops by like 90% and you don't even bat an eye because it doesn't matter. That money was there specifically for that purpose. It was the extra money you had to have fun with in the market. So I like to say that some of the myths that we address in this financial planning philosophy is, I can't save enough to even start. What's the point? Well, 50-30-20 rule. The compounding effect, and saving at least 20% of your income can give you a lot of freedom. More discipline usually does give you a lot of freedom. Another one is, I'm so young, I don't need to start saving yet. Well, we had that story between Bill and Joe, and look who won in that situation. Add a couple zeros to the end of that equation, you start to really see the effects of compounding interest. Few that I haven't addressed, I've heard this comment before. The market is too risky. I'll lose everything. My argument to that is, I think it may be more risky to let your money just sit in a bank account. Because you have less control over your money. I actually got this comment from my sister the other day. She goes, I don't want to feel like I'm out of control of my money. I don't want to invest it. And I said, listen, sis, you are most out of your control of your money when you're not investing it. Inflation, you can't control inflation. I can't control how many dollars the Fed is printing every day. But what I can control is what my money is doing for me. Robert Kiyosaki has 3 rules for money. Work for assets, don't work for cash. Make sure your money is always in motion. And your biggest expense throughout your entire life, and an entirely different topic altogether, is taxes. Learn how to work your taxes. So I would say that it's more risky not to invest your money. And if you were to take any 15-year period in the market, you start any year and 15 years later, you would have never lost your money. Even in 08 and 09, 15 years before that, still gained 8% average if you sold in 08 and 09. Last one, and a very prominent misconception and myth that I like to address, especially here in the Midwest, all debt is bad, and credit cards are bad. Everybody cut up your credit cards. Like I said, debt is like fire. It can warm you and clothe you. You can use your credit card for rewards with a little bit of discipline. I got tickets for a vacation last summer that paid for me and my significant other to go out of the country just through credit card rewards. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and just start pumping out credit cards, but being disciplined and having a good understanding of what they can do for you can take you a long way. And I'll say this, and I'll end with this. Wealthy people become wealthy through leverage of debt and understanding their finances. They all started at that very base piece of protecting their income first, and then getting the savings, and then becoming disciplined with debt. And it catapults you to a lot of different places you probably didn't think you could go to before. Again, my name's Stephen Schott. I'm very glad that you took the time to listen to some of the advice that I could give today, and hopefully it helps you out.
Thanks for watching. What questions do you have? Reach out and connect with Stephen today. Tomorrow we're covering the importance of mental health and self-care with Brett Cheek. You'll learn techniques to successfully address some of the most common mental health concerns like stress, anxiety, and depression. See you then.